Dungeons and Dragons. Players of Reddit, what's your best story of when you were a party member? Rolled either a 20 or a 1? Our group has a joke that one of the group members' grandma is a holy deity since she always bakes us cookies, calls us on our birthdays, etc. Basically is sweet all across the board. Well, our dungeon master made an entire campaign on her being kidnapped and us going to rescue her. This campaign lasted 7 months. When we finally get to the wizard keeping her captive, he is giving us a speech while standing in front of her, seated and chained up. Me, a Dilster Fugnet, draws my bow and shoots an arrow at him. I roll a nat 1. The wizard steps to the side. My arrow hits Gram square in the face, killing her instantly. I hold the title Grandma Slayer. My character wanted to enter a pub like a badass. I tried to kick the door open. Rolled a 1. Broke my foot. We were against a much more powerful boss than we could handle, so we had to flee. It was an undead. She was an evil queen of our land some 100 years ago and someone brought her back to life. Sadly, our bard was stuck on the other side of the room and could not get out. He decided that with his charisma, he would try to woo the queen into marrying him, thus escaping death. Our game master thought it ridiculous, so he just went along with thinking he would solve the problem one way or another, as he didn't really want one of us to die at level 2. He told our bard to roll a d20. And he got a 20. Now our game master had to uphold the critical charisma while also not ruining the boss's ambitions. It resulted in our bard becoming a spy for her, but he would also spy on her. Honestly, it was too funny seeing our game master and bard improvising a love scene on the spot between a character about to be killed and another trying to resist his charms and marriage advances. A friend was running a game where there were an impossible amount of 1s being rolled. Finally he gave up on the normal stuff and just said you shit your armor. The next action that character took rolled a 1, so he says you slip and fall in your own shit. We were supposed to rescue a kid with strange powers, but our encounter was not going well. The dungeon master made the demon holding the kid sprout wings and start flying away with him. As the ranger I rolled to hit with a bramble arrow to stop the demon escaping the field. I convinced the dungeon master to give me advantage. Still rolled 2 1s. I asked if a critical miss could mean I hit the kid instead. Dungeon master said he'd allow it. I used a spell slot to add force damage hoping to knock the kid loose. It worked. But I rolled basically all max for damage. The dungeon master said the demon dropped the kid and he landed on a root and got impaled. Instant death. So instead of his original plan, which was for the demon to escape and us to track him down and actually rescue the kid from a winnable fight, the whole campaign derailed into finding a powerful wizard who could resurrect our very dead kid that no longer mattered to the forces of hell. I made an oopsie. We were fighting through a castle and came across the main boss, who was a knight in very fancy heavy armor. We were already out of shape from the previous fight, so one of our players casted Mage Hand and used it to try to unbuckle his armor. Our dungeon master had him roll to see if he could manage it. Nat 20. Our cleric then blasted him with Guiding Bolt. Armor is gone and his AC went from 22 to 12. We pulled lots of shenanigans on our DM. Happened to me, too. I wanted to start a long campaign with the characters hunting a wizard by following a trail of villainous operations. The first encounter was designed to taunt them into tracking him down, so he was up in the air behind a magical barrier that prevented the passing of spells and non-magical weapons. Turns out the ranger had 1 magical arrow. Rolled a 20, rolled a high D100 on the critical hit table we used, and plucked him out of the sky. A few magic items broke during the landing, but a good bit survived. Free magic items after the first 5 minutes of play. Yeah. And a dungeon master without a story. Well, almost. I still ran this campaign on the base of, the big evil boss vanished without a trace. What will his underlings do? My group was in some cavern and we come to a gap in our path. We have no idea how far down the fall would be, but we can't see the bottom. I decided to tie a rope to myself while our tank holds onto the other end. I attempt to jump over the gap to get the rope secured to a rock on the other side. I roll a 1. I fall down the pit. Our tank gets yanked down with me, and we fall until we land in a giant spider's web. Our group spends the next 2 meetings rescuing us. I was then given the title, Goosey P the Clumsy. Not DnD but a different game. Wizard tried to cast cantrips to impress some people. This is basically the spell version of lighting off fireworks to look cool. It's the easiest spell in the game. So he fails. Then he rolls on the spell failure table, major summoning of an angelic or demonic being. Then rolls on the rank and gets the worst possible roll, Prince of Hell. Literally the demon who is the devil's right hand appears unbound on earth. By rules of the game he roams freely doing whatever he wishes for 666 days. It pretty much destroyed the game. I was DM. Players were having a social together at a restaurant tavern. All courteous people. 2 players want to pay for the entire party. Turned into a combat encounter to get the bill first. Player A manages to secure the bill and pays 10 gold. Player B decides they want to sneak 10 gold into player A's pouch. Roll sleight of hand, dexterity, check nat 1. Player B is now groping player A under the table. My character had maces on both hands and a mace attached to my head. I was bored with character design. Weakness was seizures. Wanted to charge enemy. Rolled a 1. Had a seizure and killed 2 members of my party. We were in a room or a cave. I don't quite remember, but I was getting kind of paranoid that our dungeon master wanted us to explore certain rooms more. You know that he's hiding something feeling. So I was checking everything into detail, but my rolls were all so bad that the outcome was just terribly funny. I check the floor for traps and such. You see a floor. I check the pile of rocks. You see rocks. They're rocky. It was so bad that my party bought me a t-shirt about it. Love it. I got this one. So, it was a school activity and everyone in my class were playing DnD because our English teacher was nuts. I was fine with it. DnD is fun. So our group, 5ish, is a bunch of Vikings who dive through a portal into hell after our leader was taken by the ruler of the underworld. We end up in a large room with souls passing through it. We walk through a doorway and on the left is a hallway and the right is stairs going down. Me and another member head down, with the other 3 going left. Yes, we split the party. I and the other member walk into a room that was at least 100 foot tall or something, with pillars on the side and a giant door at the end of the room. It was almost as if I could hear boss music. I walk to the giant, 100 foot door and knock. Stupid? Yes. The door opens and, guess what? A giant as big as the door opens. He demands to know who intrudes upon his room. I, knowing I'm fucked, and having a charisma of 18, decide to go with it. Since it's a Nordic world, with Nordic gods, I yell at the giant I am Loki, the god of mischief. I demand you take Emmy to the throne room at once. I roll a 10. Not too bad. The giant is unconvinced however. You do not look like Loki. To which I respond, I am the god of mischief. I take many forms, and I present myself however I please. Nat 1. The dungeon master then describes the stain my body left on both the wall and the floor of the room. I was dead within 5 minutes of playing my first session. That was fun. We needed to find food to protect a village. My character for some reason had this spell called Detect Food and I used it and got a perfect 20. They found food hidden in the king's clothes and food that was on him. Somehow. Sadly we didn't have enough food to feed everyone still. My friends and I were on the first day of a campaign, trying to sneak around a corner in an area filled with cultists and guards. So we do a stealth check, and all of our party does fine, except one. My friend rolls a 1. And so she goes around the corner and runs directly into a cultist. She then asked our dungeon master how close am I to the cultist? And the dungeon master says oh I don't know maybe, kissing distance. So that's exactly what my friend does. Kisses the cultist, does a charisma check, gets like an 18, and it works. Not only did this craziness get us out of a tough spot, it also got us allies. The cultist is now my friend's girlfriend, and her brother, also a cultist, is on our side too. The very first time I rolled was a nat 20, which got my character to jump on a boat from fairly far away. She's extremely fast and a ninja so this is actually possibly. The second time I ever rolled was a nat 1, so she ended up being horribly seasick for several weeks of boat travel. I was playing in a long-running high-power plan escape campaign. The party had been split for different people to accomplish sort of vision quest type deals. I went with our monk who was my character's best friend. I forget what plane we were on, but we went through a labyrinth to find a monastery that was full of tropes. As a weird barbarian rogue playing a warrior mix who was true neutral, I got into the philosophy of the place, but I tried to stay out of the combat training. Finally at one point an NPC wouldn't stop pestering me about it. I told him I won't be able to hold back, and I don't want to kill you. But he insisted. Sure enough, in the first round I rolled a nat 20 and crit him with my great axe, killing him outright. Luckily the monks, being so battle happy, were very understanding about the whole thing and agreed not to pester me to fight anymore. I rolled to attack. Natural 1. We had a rule where on a natural 1 you rolled again, and if you rolled too low, bad things happen. So I rolled again. Natural 20. Dungeon master isn't sure what to do. He has me roll a third time. Second natural 20. After a little while thinking on it, he says, you do something cool completely accidentally. While attacking that guy, you slipped somehow and ended up scoring a critical hit on the other enemy you're next to. Our group was stuck in a tower in front of a sacrificial bonfire. My character tried to levitate away. Rolled a nat 1 on stealth, ended up in the bonfire a minute later with everyone else looting the blacksmith's house. Strangely enough, that wasn't when my character died. Pathfinder. Our group is walking along in the woods and we come upon a stream. There, playing in the middle, are 2 bear cubs. Our sork rushes out to sea and is calling us to come pet the cubs. He rolled a 1 on perception and Mama Bear took him out in 2 swipes. I, the ranger, convinced the GM that my future animal companion needed to be 2 bear cubs. Made great fun training them up. Poor sork though. We've never let him live it down. Oh boy. I remember one time my party was fighting a phoenix, for whatever reason, and I was a halfling. 2 other guys tieflings. Well, I obviously couldn't reach the phoenix, so I opted to jump off of the tieflings. I successfully get onto the second tiefling's shoulder and I went to jump onto the phoenix. I rolled a 1 and I fell into a ravine. Yeah. Needless to say I died. Horribly. End of the campaign. Tension between a few members of the party and character, so we basically beat the final boss, then PvP immediately after. 3v3. I'm a fighter and my 2 teammates were casters almost dead and out of spells, so I basically think I'm boned. One of the characters was my in-character best friend and gets downed, so immediately after I rolled 2 nat 20s in a row and one-shot one of their player characters. They surrendered. Playing a Goliath, I went into a brothel and had relations with a gnome. Towards the end I rolled to spin the gnome on my dick like a plane propeller and rolled a 1. I came too early and rocketed the gnome through 3 walls and decapitated 2 guards. Got arrested and imprisoned in level 19 of Barda's Hold, which was like a reverse London Tower that went underground.